Hi, it's me, Kirby. How are you doing? I went to San Diego and I worked with an organization called Icing Smiles. They create insane cakes for families that are battling chronic illness. While I was there, Chef Charity, who's this crazy, amazing baker, and we made a Dr. Seuss cake. And guess what? I love Dr. Seuss! So much so that when I was in high school, I competed in debate. I did what's called a humorous interpretation, where you take a scene and you memorize it and you perform it. And I won the national tournament for it, using a Dr. Seuss story. And I've been doing it for a long time. I have it memorized, and I thought, hey, we gotta kill some time. So while we were building this cake, cutting things out, I recited Horton Hatches an egg. Yeah, I have it memorized. It's never gonna leave my brain. Obviously, it was too long to put in the episode, so why don't you gather up the kids, pop some popcorn, sit down for about 7 minutes, and watch me recite from memory Horton Hatches an egg. Woohoo! An elephant's faithful 100%. I think I just said elephant.
Sighed Maisie, a lazy bird hatching her egg.
I'm tired and I'm bored and I've got kinks in my leg. From sitting here day after day. It's work, how I hate it. I'd much rather play. I'd take a vacation, fly off for a rest. If I could find someone to sit on my nest. If I could find someone, I'd fly away free.
Then Horton the elephant passed by her tree.
Hello,
said the bird, smiling her best.
You've nothing to do and I do need a rest. Would you like to sit on the egg in my nest?
The elephant laughed. Why, of all silly things, I haven't feathers and I haven't wings. Me on your egg, ma'am, why, that doesn't make sense. Your egg is so small, ma'am, and I'm so immense.
Tut, tut,
answered Maisie.
I know you're not small, but I'm sure you could do it, no trouble at all.
I can't, said the elephant. Please, begged the bird.
I won't be long, sir. I give you my word. I'll hurry right along, but I'll never be missed.
Very well, said the elephant, since you insist. You want a vacation, go fly off and take it. I'll sit on your egg and I'll try not to break it. I'll stay and be faithful, I mean what I say. Toodaloo, sang out Maisie and fluttered away. Murmured Horton. Let's see. Now, the first thing to do is to prop up this tree and to make it much stronger. Now, that has to be done. Before I get on it, I must weigh a ton. Then tenderly, carefully, gently he crept up to the nest where the little egg slept. Then Horton the elephant said, "That's that." And he sat, and he sat, and he sat, and he sat, and he sat all that day to keep the egg warm, and he sat all that night through a terrible storm. It poured, it thundered, it lightning, it rumbled. This isn't much fun, the poor elephant grumbled. I wish she'd come back, 'cause I'm cold and wet. I hope that Maisie bird doesn't forget. But Maisie, by this time, was far beyond reach, enjoying the sunshine way off in Palm Beach, and having such fun, such a wonderful rest, decided she'd never go back to her nest. So poor Horton sat there, day after day. Soon it was autumn, the leaves blew away, and then came the winter, the snow and the sleet, and icicles hung from his trunk and his feet. Then Horton the elephant said with a sneeze, That's good buttercream. I'll sit on this egg and I won't let it freeze. I meant what I said and I said what I meant. An elephant's faithful 100%. So poor Horton sat there the whole winter through, and then came the springtime with troubles anew. His friends gathered round him, they shouted with glee, "Look, Horton the elephant's up in a tree." They taunted, they teased him, they yelled, "How absurd! Old Horton the elephant thinks he's a bird." Then they laughed and they laughed, and then they all ran away. Poor Horton was lonely, he wanted to play. But he sat on that nest and continued to say, "I meant what I said, and I said what I meant. An elephant's faithful 100%. No matter what happens, this egg must be tended." But poor Horton's troubles were far, far from ended. For while he sat there so faithful, so kind, 3 hunters came sneaking up softly behind. Horton heard the men's footsteps. He turned with a start. 3 rifles were aiming right straight at his heart. Did he run? He did not. Horton stayed on that nest. He threw up his chin and he threw out his chest, and he looked at the hunters as much as to say, "You can shoot if you must, but I won't run away." I meant what I said, and I said what I meant. An elephant's faithful 100%. But the men didn't shoot, much to Horton's surprise. They dropped their 3 guns, and they stared with wide eyes. Look, the men shouted, can such a thing be? Your head as an elephant sitting on top of a tree. It's strange, it's amazing, it's wonderful. No, don't shoot him, we'll catch him. That's just what we'll do. We'll take him alive. Why, he's terrible funny. We'll sell him back home to a circus for money. The next thing Horton knew, they had built a big wagon with ropes in the front and the polos to drag on. They dug up his tree and they put it inside with Horton so unhappy he practically cried. We're off, the men shouted, and off they all went with Horton unhappy 100%. Up over the mountains, up into the sky, up over the mountains, 10,000 feet high. Then down, down, down to the sea went the cart with the elephant, egg, nest, and tree. Then out of the wagon and onto a ship, out over the ocean, and ooh, what a trip. Tossing and turning and splashed with the spray, Horton sat and continued to say, I meant what I said, and I said what I meant. But, oh, I am seasick. It was 100%. After bobbing around for 2 weeks like a cork, they landed at last in the town of New York. All ashore, the men shouted. Then down with a lurch went Horton the elephant, still on his perch, tied to a board that could just scarcely hold him. Bump! Horton landed, and then the men sold him. Sold to a circus, then week after week, people came mocking at 10 cents a peek. They took him to Boston, to Kalamazoo, Chicago, Weehawken, and Washington, too. Horton grew sadder the farther they went, but he said, as he sat in that hot, noisy tent, I meant what I said, and I said what I meant. An elephant's faithful 100%. Then one day, the circus show happened to reach a town way down south, not so far from Palm Beach, and dawdling along way high up in the sky, who, of all people, should chance to fly by? Why, that good old runaway Maisie, still on vacation and still just as lazy. And spotting the tents and the flags down below, she sang out, what fun, well, I'll go to the show. She swooped down through an open tent door. Good gracious, gasped Maisie, I've seen you before. Horton turned around, his face white as chalk. He started to speak, but before he could talk, there rang out the noisiest, ear-splitting squeaks from the egg that he'd sat on for 51 weeks. A thumping, a bumping, a wild, alive scratching. My egg, shouted Horton. My egg, why, it's hatching. But it's mine, screamed the bird when she heard the egg crack. The work was all done now. She wanted it back. It's mine. You stole it from me. Get off of my nest and get out of my tree. So poor Horton backed down with a sad, heavy heart, but at that very instant, the egg burst apart, and out of the pieces of red-white shell from the egg that he'd sat on so long and so well, Horton the elephant saw something whiz. It had ears, and a tail, and a trunk just like his. The people came shouting, what's this all about? And they looked and they stared with their eyes popping out. Then they cheered and they cheered and they cheered more and more. They'd never seen anything like it before. My goodness, my gracious, they shouted. My word, well, it's something brand new. It's an elephant bird. And it should be like that. Because Horton was faithful. He sat and he sat. He meant what he said and he said what he meant. And they sent him home happy, 100%. Thank you, everybody. Thank you.